All right, hey guys, how we doing? Sam here with you. It's Saturday, kind of late morning here. I'm doing a little catch-up work. I promised you guys I would get this done yesterday, but I ran into I just said some other things I had to attend to. They're business related, but I couldn't get this done in time. So I thought I'd make it up to you today. So yeah, per the polling, this was what you were looking for, and it's kind of nice to see we're getting more and more examples of some crypto that's bucking the trend of crypto winter. Starting to see some signs of life. So consistently seeing it among some of the stronger projects. ChaniLink, also very, very strong project. Oh, let's see. I've got them over here. This is a site I've referenced many times. Again, I have no relationship with them. I just like the way they organize their data. This is a good way. If you're interested in the project here, it's nice to see where more and more times we're seeing a strong buy recommendation here because we have a trending market. So a good place to come do a little due diligence if you're interested in this project. I would encourage that before investing in it without having some understanding of what they're all about. So some interesting things here. Now, we've got this level down here that's fairly well established. I think to some degree there's a bit of a question mark here as to whether or not we've got a 1-2 or just a double bottom here that I'll show you why I'm a little hesitant here. So as it sits, I can get it's an ugly diagonal into this one here. There are definitely 5 swings to it, but because of the overlap of this one wick here, we have to treat it as a leading diagonal. So I can get the 1. Then there's it's an ABC here, and we can definitely get 5 in the C, and it's fairly technical. So all of this should no surprise here. So there should be no one who's surprised. So here we go. Even though we get this deep retracement, we go right to the golden zone, then rip, but we don't get target here. So again, as I will always remind you, just because we have a target doesn't mean we must go there. Market's too weak, so we hold here. They attempted the defense, but then it's broken, and we go actually beyond the 786. So it makes you look at this and go, well, did bears just win the day there? Looks like it's probably the case. So just looking at the length down here as I get right on it. So swing low. So this was golden zone, then they swing it down, then this goes golden zone, then they get to and through. Some question as to whether or not here, with this move here, would they have stayed with it or perhaps moved to the next pivot? This makes a pretty strong case for that. So you'd have to assume here this is a front run on the 50 after this came back up. Front run on the target, and then per that reaction, now we've got a nice impulse here. Well, of course, as you can see, we have yet to make the median line here, which, at this point here, as we've backed away, it's a sign of weakness. Now, trading principle number 4, failure to make the median line sets up a move equal to or greater than the swing that failed to get there. So not prepared to make the assumption that because we failed to make it on this swing here that we're going all the way back down. So note here, we also did not make the more typical, as technically as this is traded, we did not make the typical length here. So you can see here's our 1618 right here, which would have been perfect as a push up here to get this would have given us the tag of the median line. Now, nothing says that we can't come out of this and go up and get it later. It could be over here. So there's a couple things here to look at. So just a little bit of caution here, because we're going to have to relabel this based on the depth of this retracement. I'll show you what I mean. So with this is established here, we knowing that's our 1618. Well, it looks like we're trying to carve out a triangle here, maybe here with this choppiness. So all the subdivision plays here. I can get, so if you can see it here, I can get this as a 1, 2. I've got my impulse into the 3. There's the ABC into the 4. We don't threaten the 1 here. There's the 4, and we get a bit of an extension in the 5th. Although the symmetry is not crazy here. Actually, let me use this here. So if I just grab from the start of the 1 through the pivot of the 3. Well, it's a little on the deeper side. We don't threaten here. We come down, tag the 50. We go, so here's the algo play. So they get theirs. There's the reaction. Then ultimately they get second target. it's a little sloppy up here. So is this a, it's hard to know as to why it stops there. So you have to be suspect of this pivot. So if it's gonna, if this is a 4 and we're getting a triangle in the 4, well, a push up here to get the 5th and tag that median line is certainly a reasonable expectation. So I think if we come out of this with a bullish move, if we break out of this triangle, the idea that we've gone, that the 3rd is complete here, we're into the 4th in this triangle, and we're headed back up. Well, there'll be some targets up here, some fib targets and some algo targets based on how we come out of what appears to be, it certainly looks like a wave 4 kind of sideways action here as the market decides which way we're going. Now, but here's what I want you to see. I've got to go down, let me go to a 4 hour. Yeah, let's reset here. So I do have all the subdivision that I need here to get this to complete as a 3rd. However, if we are going to come out of this, and I'll show you what I mean here. So if this is 1, 2, and this is our 3rd, well, we don't want to violate this wave 1 here, or because of the subdivision here, it's, boy, I wouldn't want to be relabeling this to accommodate for a diagonal because of an overlap here. Because the subdivision is so clearly in as a series of impulses. So I've got an impulse, well, pardon me. So I get a diagonal into the 1. So you can see that. There's the 1, 2. Then I do get my impulse in the 3rd. Very clear ABC into the 4. And then yet again, a note here, this is a bit of a tell. So when you see this here, so here's the 1 of the 5th. So we go 1, 2, 3, come down, and we hold to the tick, right? That, I promise you that's not random. So up we go, and we get an impulse to finish the 5th. So all of the impulses that we need to see, we've got here in the 3rd and the 5th of the 3rd. Would have you inclined to be believing that the 3rd is in because of the subdivision. So if this comes down and we break that wave 1 high, then I'm going to be more concerned about the sustainability of the idea that we've got a 3, 4. So then you might come back to this and reevaluate, thinking, are these two related, or is this the start of our 1, and we just have a kind of a sloppy double down here. It's that I might be inclined to go that direction if we violate this wave 1 high. So you can see this nice little pocket of support we have here, just using these prior pivots. We'll take note of this as well. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of the 3, and we're in, well, just standard ops, I would be, if this is my 3, I'm going to pull from the 2 up to the proposed pivot of the 3rd, and we've come right to where you'd anticipate it. We're just tagging the 38. So very real possibility. We might have a little push down here. Note the lower parallel of the median lines here is potentially some support as we come back down. We could break it. Still, you'd have this little triangle here that wouldn't invalidate the count by any means. So if we were to come back down here, look, we've tagged the 38 3 times. Here's the problem. If we come down here and we break this pivot here, then the whole thing would have to be relabeled as a diagonal. And I think at that point, you're rationalizing, and it becomes a force fit. So while it still could, certainly, right, of course, that's possible, in terms of the probabilities, they would be changing such that I would be waiting to see a little more price action before I would just assume, particularly if we come down to the 50, then I might be looking this as potentially the 1. If we go to the 50, that could be the 2, and then these two would not be related. This would be the start of our 1, 2. And additionally, the reason I think that there's a point of caution with that, so we can leave that on here, is if we look, remember there's always an algo on the other side. Always, always, always. So look, we're tagging the 50 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Well, look where that, if you can see it down here, I might have to wiggle this so you can see it. So if not the A, I want this. So do you see that green line here? That's our algo target, is literally right on top of the 50. So if this algorithm is going to get to its target, well, we just tagged it to the tick right here. If we're going to get to that algo target here, well, that's sitting on top of the 50. So it would invalidate the idea that we had 1, 2, 3. Can I do it? Well, it would invalidate the idea that we have 1, 2, 3 again, note all the subdivision here. We'd gone into a 4 here, and we were going up for the 5. I think that becomes suspect, but I wouldn't be abandoning the bull case. I would treat this as a completed 1 wave. If we come to the 50, I'd trade that as the 2. So again, look at all the structure here. I mean, you just got, can't squeeze it anymore. You've got this whole little cluster down here. So you've got the 50, you've got this. Interestingly, note what we did here. Look at these tags here as we pump through trying to get to break. Look, very similar price action here. Pump. Eventually they get through, then that becomes the support, and it's to the tick support. So if we're going to get through this, if we're going to come down, let me get this off of here. So if we're going to complete the triangle, if we come down here, come here. Come down here, tag either the trend line and the 38, and then break up. Well, then you know you're off for the 5th, and then the impulse stays intact. If we come down here and we break this and we get to that algo target, then I think you've got to reevaluate as to whether or not those two are connected. Because I would, even though, I suppose you could get it. You could probably relabel it. So the dominant swing set here, we could say 1, 2, 3. So you could probably relabel enough to get this into a diagonal, but I don't want to do that yet. So I would be less inclined to be looking to get on the long side until I see more resolution if we break this wave 1 high. So right now, the ideal scenario is that we just stay within this triangle and then we kick up for the 5th and perhaps go after that median line. If we break and we get down to this 50, I think you got to reevaluate, consider this as potentially a completed impulse. Perhaps the 1, we'd be looking for the entries down here, right where we'd expect it, between the 50 and the 618. So a little tricky, not as clean as you'd hope to see. That said, I wouldn't shy away from the buy here at the 38 because you have a very clear exit. So if you're get a long trade here. So if you're a buyer here, you got good upside targets. All right, so assuming we've come down, we complete the triangle, sets up potential buy here at the 38. Well, here's the wave 1 high. You don't need to, I mean, you might do it that way. So just there to go up and get to a new high, that would give you 6 to 1. We go up and get an algo target here. Now you've got 8.8 to 1. And the whole premise being that if this pivot is violated, we no longer have this count as it's currently labeled. We would no longer have an impulse. Now we're reevaluating as a diagonal. And it doesn't look as pretty. So let's hope we hold here and we don't violate that, and then there should be good opportunity here for that trade right there. Interestingly, and nothing says we stop, because the tag of the median line, well, shit, that could come at the second algo target. So nice low risk trade here, but just be aware that we might be relabeling if we break that pivot. All right, guys, about as much as I can offer there. All right, see you later.